This video will discuss communication and self-advocacy in your summer internship. As a result of this session, you should be able to define professional communication and identify strategies, break down parts of the self-advocacy and practice self-advocacy, and understand the general process of disclosure and requesting accommodations. So what is professional communication? This is clearly and effectively exchanging information, ideas, facts, and perspectives with persons inside and outside of an organization. Some helpful tips for professional communication is to make sure that you are in touch with your supervisor anytime there's going to be absences or deadlines. If you've got vacations planned or you need time off, make sure to tell them at the very beginning. If you're going to be late for one of your shifts, make sure that you let them know as soon as you are going to be late. Don't wait until after you already arrive to let them know that you're going to be late. Talk to your supervisor about who you should be communicating with when it comes to things like absences, being late, specific tasks, or just general questions you might have. They might have preferred ways or people for you to talk to, so it's good to have that conversation right from the very beginning. Some great communication strategies are to make sure that you are actively listening. If you're hearing something from your supervisor and they're giving you instructions, a good thing to ask yourself is, could I explain this to someone else? If not, make sure that you ask questions and clarify what it is that they are looking for. Take notes in whatever way makes the most sense to you, and also be sure to make agendas for your meetings with your supervisors. When it comes to accepting feedback, make sure that you remember to breathe, thank the person for the feedback, and always remember that you can follow up with any feedback you receive at a later point in time. Self-advocacy is understanding your strengths and your needs and making sure to communicate with your supervisor and coworkers about those needs. This is a skill that can be practiced in so many different areas and aspects of your life, so it's a good thing to start practicing now. The first step of advocacy is building an awareness of yourself. So first, identify what are your strengths and needs. What are the things that you really excel at, but what are some of the areas that you'd really like to improve on? What is some feedback that you've received from others in the past? And have there been supports or accommodations that have been helpful to you previously? If you can identify what your needs are, you can better communicate them right in the beginning. Think also about your working style. When it comes to time management, do you prefer one giant deadline at the very end? Or do you tend to procrastinate and benefit from having mini deadlines along the way so that it doesn't become a huge thing at the very end? Do you enjoy writing things down on an agenda or a calendar? Or do you prefer to use a calendar on your phone or your computer? Do you like to have reminders? Do you prefer to have short, frequent breaks, or do you prefer kind of one long break? Think also about your preferred communication style. Do you do better when you're actually speaking to someone, or do you like to have the time to generate your thoughts and write them down in an email? Do you learn best from examples or demonstrations, or do you learn best by jumping in and doing something? You might also learn best from hearing from someone, seeing something written down, or actively doing it with them. These are all things that are good to know about yourself so that you can better articulate and advocate when it comes to your work environment. Thinking about that work environment, what already exists in place? Talk to your supervisor. Do they like to give big deadlines or mini deadlines? How often will you meet with your supervisor, and what will these meetings look like? What do you want to accomplish during these meetings? Is there a set work style, a balance that they have where they are doing communication using instant message like Slack? Or do they prefer email, text messaging? These are all really important things to know. Once you've identified your needs and your strengths, then you want to think about how best to advocate. Practice talking about your strengths and your needs. Maybe practice with a friend or a family member. Set goals for your improvement so that they know that you're actively working to improve in those areas. Identify strategies. Let's say you find something particularly challenging in the workplace. It's okay. It happens often, especially within your first internship. You're not going to be perfect at everything. So it's a good time to figure out what are some strategies for overcoming potential obstacles. Be open to feedback. This is going to help you to become the best possible professional that you can. Take initiative where you can. Don't wait for your supervisor to tell you something, but take the lead and ask them if it's appropriate for you to work on specific projects or take the lead on things. And make sure that you keep track of the positive experiences as well. So some people, for example, might work better when they break projects down that are big into smaller mini deadlines. So this is an example of something that person might say to their supervisor. I work best when bigger projects are broken down, so I'm going to work on a list of deadlines for this project, and I'm hoping that we could review them as they come up in our one-on-one meetings. In this instance, the supervisor just gave one big deadline, but this person knew that they work better when they have mini deadlines along the way and they're involving their supervisor in the process. Another really positive way of ending your one-on-ones is to review the list of action items or next steps to make sure that you're on the same page. And finally, make sure that you're taking notes and writing them out. Be clear to your supervisor that that's what you're doing, especially if it's on your phone or your computer, so that they know that you are paying attention and that you are just keeping track. Sometimes it may become necessary for you to disclose some type of disability and request an accommodation. Couple of key terms. Disclosure is when you're informing your employer of a disability status. An accommodation is a modification or adjustment that allows you to complete the job. And reasonable means that this is something that employers are able to provide. When it comes to disclosing, a lot really depends on you, on the situation, on your comfortability with the supervisor, and you can really disclose at any point. If you feel comfortable during the interview, maybe before accepting an offer, if you want to make sure that they're going to be willing and able to provide you with the work environment that you work best in. Maybe it's before you start, or it could be something that you discover while you are working. You don't have to disclose, but if you are going to request accommodations, you may need to. When it comes to disclosing, you would typically do that by talking to human resources. This usually requires some type of documentation that may come from a doctor or licensed medical professional, but you do not need to share the specifics of your diagnosis. An important thing to keep in mind is that this is a conversation. Come already thinking about what some potential accommodations might be that you might pursue. This is all part of the process of learning how to negotiate in the workspace and really be effective as a new professional. Think about who you feel comfortable disclosing to. And there is a job accommodation network that is a really helpful resource. And additionally, at CMU, we have the Olitsky Family Foundation Career Readiness Program. This is a special opportunity for students who have different emotional or cognitive differences, and this will help you with your career search process, with your internship placements, one-on-one career coaching, and it is a resource that is extremely valuable for students that are learning how to thrive within the workplace, overcoming any potential barriers that may come with emotional or cognitive differences. Amy Tavares is the point of contact for this program, and I would highly recommend that you reach out to schedule an appointment with her just to get to know her and use her as a very valuable resource.